thank you, Jennifer, for your contribution to today's session. And now I believe that we only have approximately 20 minutes for questions and comments. I can see already raising. I would very much appreciate if you could keep your questions and comments very short to the point, and possibly address them to any of the panelists that you would like them to answer the questions or address your points. I would like to start from that side of the room and then move forward. So please, if someone could assist kindly with the microphone.
Thank you, the Chair. Thank you very much for the speakers. It's very inspiring. And regarding what Jennifer just mentioned about the international cooperation and the need for the international donors actually recognizing those kind of effort is really critical. And at the same time, in terms of those efforts, when we consider, and even from the beginning, it also needs to recognize some of the existing networks and existing formation of those arrangements. For example, in ASEAN level, there has been already Southeast Asia Legal Network, and there are also greater interest in the different donors, and bilateral and also multilateral donors. They are highly interested, but at the same time, there needs a good facilitation to really make that happen. I think one of the critical suggestions from this conference outcome also should be suggesting that kind of thing to happen, and also in realizing some of the national level legal system that can be both supported technically and also resources that can be really helped.
To continue Jennifer's point, just the comment that was made, the cooperation is really indispensable. The reforms are really new in most countries in the world, and it seems like we all are learning as we are engaged in these efforts. So learning from each other is really crucial to help each other as well as avoid mistakes, and then do all the apply all the right things that others learn from. Just as an example, in my presentation on the first day, I described reforms in Eastern Europe, and in 2009, legal aid management boards from 5 countries and public defender offices decided to create a network. It's called the Legal Aid Reformers Network, to really share resources as they continue forward and then develop new tools, so like how to develop the eligibility determination, payment schemes, how to develop the practice standards for criminal defense lawyers. Roger and I talked about the standard practice standards which were just recently developed so by this group of people, and there are many things they can do, and then this collaboration is something that can be also really useful for other countries beyond the alarm network in Eastern Europe. There is just also to mention for your information, there is a website they created. It's legalaidreform as one word.org, and it has like most of the legal aid laws, and then all the kind of relevant legal aid management and like a criminal defense resources that they were able to put together. And so it's available for everyone, it's global. So it's kind of has resources from Sierra Leone to Indonesia to Georgia. So something that many people can find really useful as they design and implement legal aid reforms in their countries.
Thank you, Zaza. I believe that the organizers, I would like to reiterate what has been said earlier, we try to facilitate this dialogue also beyond this conference, and keep this forum open for discussions, sharing challenges, and particularly lessons from other countries or regional. Please.
Hello, Libby McVeigh from Fair Trials International. I just wanted to respond to Professor Rice's very interesting intervention. Fair Trials International was actually established with the specific goal of providing legal assistance to people facing criminal justice proceedings outside the country of origin. And over the years we have developed an advice system where we provide referrals to lawyers in that country, and also off-the-shelf materials, providing initial guidance on the criminal processes in different jurisdictions across the globe. We've also established a network of lawyers within Europe, because we have this fast-track extradition system in Europe, which presents real challenges. But happily, and I think something that might be of interest in your programme, is that we now have new legislation, EU-wide legislation, which recognises the right of access to a lawyer in both the requesting and the requested state. And we now have a proposed directive, EU directive, which would guarantee legal aid in both countries. And I think that might be something worth reflecting on. But I'd like to take the conversation bilaterally because I'd like to know more about your programme.
Thank you, Deputy. Monsieur?
Oui, merci. Je voulais... Beaucoup de gens ne parlent pas français ici.
Ils ont intérêt à apprendre.
Oui, je remercie quand même les organisateurs pour avoir permis la traduction en français, sachant qu'on n'était pas très nombreux. Et vous avez été parfaits, je vous salue pour ça. Marou Amadou, ministre de la Justice de la République du Niger. Donc, au moment où notre conférence s'achève, je voulais faire 2 à 3 observations. Il est vrai que cette conférence est tenue sur l'assistance juridique dans le système pénal, mais je voudrais que dans tous les documents qui sortiront de cette conférence, qu'à côté de l'assistance, ce que vous appelez en anglais Access to Criminal Legal Aid, de l'appeler Access to Criminal and Civil Legal Aid. C'est très important parce que, une fois encore, l'assistance juridique et judiciaire doit être universelle. Tous les domaines du droit. Ceux qui sont en prison, comme ceux qui ont mal quelque part, ont les mêmes besoins de soutien, n'est-ce pas, juridique et de représentation légale. Et je voudrais appeler à tous les membres de cette conférence qu'à l'avenir, nous essayons de modifier le langage international pour que l'assistance juridique soit effectivement universelle et pour tous, c'est-à-dire tous les secteurs et pour tous ceux qui sont dans le besoin, les personnes vulnérables comme les personnes pauvres. Je voudrais enfin appeler à cette conférence à la mise en place d'un secrétariat qui permettra de suivre les recommandations importantes qui en seront ici. Je sais que déjà les organisateurs feront en sorte que nos recommandations ne restent pas vaines, mais il est important qu'on institutionnalise le suivi de cette conférence. Parce qu'à la fin, il faut que nous arrivions, et c'est le moment de le dire à l'occasion de ce panel-là, un fonds international de l'assistance juridique et judiciaire, parce que décidément, certains pays, beaucoup de pays ont de la volonté, mais nous avons besoin de formaliser la coopération internationale autour de cette question. Nous n'avons pas beaucoup de temps, je vais m'en arrêter là, j'espère que vous avez pris bonne note de mes observations.
Merci, Votre Excellence. We took note of your remarks and we will certainly follow up on that. I would like to move... yes, please.
Since the time is very limited and only very few presenters can present their experience, but during the conversation, informal conversation, we find many countries have very best practices in some areas. I wonder whether it's within the agenda of UNDP and UNODC to develop kind of a knowledge bank with the best practices from different countries, and also with the baseline information of this country system in order to have a better comparative peer learning or comparative research. And my second suggestion about the kind of the opportunity for people from developing countries to get involved in the guideline or many things development. I think developing countries can have more need in terms of legal aid or something. They have their first kind of frontline peers and they know their contacts. I hope in future there are more opportunities for the experts from developing countries.
Thank you. I would like to try to answer the question immediately. I know that there is a lot of work in the pipeline, but I think that the most appropriate person to, at least on behalf of UNODC, to answer to this question is certainly Miri Sharon, and I would like to give the floor to her. Thank you.
Thank you very much for the question. So regarding baselines, as a partner presented, we are launching now the global study, and we really hope, we have talked with a lot of experts on data collection, because we know the challenges, and we hope to make it a real global study with some specific case studies to share best practices. And of course, we are very open to suggestions to develop new tools and guidelines, but always we have our own financial constraints, and we need some external contributions in order to develop these tools. Finally, in terms of opportunities to meet and discuss these issues further, I think we mentioned already in some informal conversations that next year, in April 2015, the World Crime Congress will take place in Doha, Qatar, and this is an event that takes place only once every 5 years, and all the important issues related to criminal justice reform and crime prevention are discussed, and there will be approximately 3,000 participants. So we encourage you to start already lobbying with your governments to be able to participate in the Crime Congress and continue the discussion on legal aid there. Thank you.
Thank you, Miri. Yes, please.
Sorry, I just wanted to add on, since we just spoke, to respond to the first question in terms of what UNDP is doing. Obviously, the global study which we presented, but I also wanted to touch upon the question about the knowledge bank. And I think as part of the global study, we will be collecting a lot of studies and research, as well as legislation and policies. So we hope to put that together in sort of a web platform that will be accessible as a knowledge bank for others as well. So I think that's part of the work that we're planning to do around the global study.
Thank you, partner. I don't see her, I hope, yes, please.
Je vais m'exprimer en français. Je m'appelle Patricia Naourouzé. Je suis du pays de Burundi. Et je voudrais me joindre aux autres pour féliciter les organisateurs de cette conférence qui est venue à point nommé. C'est une grande étape pour la promotion des droits de l'homme. Et je voudrais demander à ce que, dans le cadre de l'élaboration des stratégies pour le suivi de cette conférence, et voir comment amener les autorités des différents pays, surtout au niveau des ministères de la Justice, voir comment ils peuvent s'approprier des recommandations de cette conférence. Je le dis pourquoi? Parce que ce sont eux qui sont les premiers qui sont chargés de la réforme. Donc c'est ça ma demande. Je ne pense pas que ce sont tous les pays qui ont été représentés par le ministère de la Justice. Et j'ai vu que là où il y a des ministres qui sont présents, ça va être vraiment une occasion pour améliorer le système d'assistance juridique et judiciaire dans le pays. Je vous remercie.
Thank you so much for your contribution. I don't see other hands you raised now, but I have a question particularly for Professor Rice. If you would like probably to further elaborate and give us a couple of share a few ideas on mechanisms and structures that you would recommend to be established to facilitate international cooperation. We heard about the existing mechanism in Southeast Asia. We heard from Nicholas regarding IREF and the various successes and challenges. But if you would be so kind to share your views with you, we have a few more minutes, so that would be appreciated. Thank you.
Well, the starting point on the conversations has been, how do you do something on a global scale that in any way is affordable or manageable? And so use of either open software or donated software and having an online system, and starting essentially small, to be perfectly frank, because you're trying to reach a target audience of you all around the world in different countries to at least register or put on file in this database, their name and contact information, primary language and secondary languages, and a willingness to provide some pro bono assistance if called upon by another public defender from a foreign country. And in exchange, the same courtesies would be given to you. So I think the starting mechanism has to be we'll be doing some research on software, what kind of program can be done that's easily understandable around the world, that's readily accessible. We believe it needs to be of a type of software that can be just as accessible from a cell phone as it is from a computer. There are many parts of the world where cellular communication is the primary link to the world. So these are many technical issues that will, in certain respects, drive the mechanism, drive the way to do it. I teach at a law school, although it's a fairly small law school in Virginia, but I have a good friend and longtime colleague here from Northwestern University, Tom Garrity, and they have an extensive clinical program that's very innovative and does many different things. So it's possible, these discussions haven't really started, that we may find a way to house this in a law school clinic using student help that, of course, is profit. I mean, you don't have to pay for it usually, they get credit. And so you get the value of people who learn from the experience but produce a way to keep a mechanism running. I think when you ask about the mechanism, I don't see any other way for this to be successful other than through the internet and technology. It's just the only way I think it's possible. There's a computer company in Chicago that makes software for nonprofits and stuff. We've already gotten some great ideas from them. So I think that the mechanism will be more defined as we see how it is we can start to accomplish the goal. The reason we brought it here and have been discussing it with people is to sort of get ideas, to get thoughts. What works for you? What would you like to see? So ultimately, the mechanism will be both a technical mechanism whereby any lawyer, any public defender, or legal aid services provider can access the database and find someone to contact, hopefully in the country they need to, with a language they share, at least research to do it. And then the second path that will come from this is the development of international agreements, instruments, understandings, so that the exchange of information between the attorneys has some form of protection or some form of privacy that is often essential in the role of being a lawyer for a client with many sensitive issues. So I'd like to be more specific because that would mean I've been successful at this task. But right now, we're just starting it.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Last contribution, we have only a few minutes. Yes, please.
Well, I would just add to that, we have some experience with this in the United States. We have 50 states in the United States. Every state has a statewide website and a data exchange where they exchange information about different agencies, their competencies, as well as lawyers that can offer those services. You might draw on some of the experiences of those organizations, both the successes and the failures. It seems to me that you do need multiple-pronged approach to make something like this successful. It can't just be lawyers. It has to, I mean, you need like things like social media and things to get the word out and to, you know, drive this process. But I think there is some models that you can look at to learn from that.
Thank you so much for your contribution. I'm afraid that we have to bring this session to an end. I would like to thank all of you for having contributed to our work today, but in particular I would like to thank again the panelists for their invaluable help today and providing with a token of appreciation on behalf of the organizers. Thank you so much and have a good day.